Welcome to Shruti Out Loud, a podcast where I invite guests from different walks of life to share their stories of following their passion, success, and happiness, which in turn motivates our listeners to follow their heart. Hi, and welcome back to Shruti Out Loud podcast. It has been a while, but we keep bringing you stories and we keep bringing you motivation. We keep bringing you something to keep looking ahead for. And today we are starting off with a new series wherein we will be bringing more of the industry stories. So, before we take this ahead, I would say that for each one of us, it is very important to keep looking out for opportunities, keep looking out for options that help us keep growing. And that is exactly the kind of thing we are going to talk about in today's podcast. And let me give you a little introduction about where we are headed with this episode. So, nowadays, hotel companies take an enthusiastic interest in understanding the academic environment, offering relevant industry insights and eagerly contributing to students' development through mentorship programs, assisting educational institutes with curriculum design and refining the learning process. Such collaborations benefit not only the students but also hotel companies as they ensure that aspirants are ready to step into the role of professionals armed with the requisite skills from day one. And I think it's quite important and it actually helps you to, from the day one itself, you are taking that leap. So, Lexicon Institute of Hotel Management focuses on creating a balanced academic ecosystem through academia industry collaborations. And let's welcome Mr. Gladvin Rego, Principal of Lexicon Institute of Hotel Management, today for today's episode. And let's discuss more on the same. Hello,
Thank
Mr.
you,
Rego.
thank you very much for having me on this podcast, Shruti. It's a pleasure to be here.
We are very glad that you are a part of this session and you will be giving us insights on how you take this the topic that I just introduced ahead. So, without further delay, let's go on with our very first question. So, from 2020 until very recently, the human population took a major hit in the form of the COVID-19 pandemic globally, as we all know. But it also gave us all a chance to take a pause and understand our paths. So, how did hotel businesses and institutes re-evaluated and re-strategized their approach in the professional and educational spheres post-pandemic?
Okay, first of all, Shruti, we need to understand that the situation that came up in 2020 was something that, none of us who were practicing hoteliers or educationists in the hospitality field had ever experienced in our lives. Okay, this is something like once in a lifetime situation that arose. No one knew what to expect, and everyone was absolutely fearful. So we went into a situation whereby we did not understand the magnanimity of the situation that could, go out of hand, and the government, for all its reasons, played a role of curtailing it by having all the lockdowns in place. Now, this had a very adverse effect on a lot of areas for a very short period of time. In the first wave, institutes did not know how to respond. So that was just the exam time. And for the first time in their lifetime, all the examinations went online. And then became the new academic year where the results were not on time and we had to start off on a later schedule. But even there, the academia took to online teaching very fast. If you go to see before that, platforms like video chat rooms and these were very sparingly used by teachers. And even in metros, in tier one metros, teachers were not very adapted to using. But the speed at which everyone picked up was tremendously praiseworthy. because platforms like Google Classrooms and Zoom and everything went on full scale amongst the teachers, and everyone took to it like a fish, taking to water. Absolutely smooth sailing, and what could be covered was covered in the last 2 years. Hotels also tried to, acclimatize to the situation. Many hotels turned into isolation rooms for the government. We had resorts which were far away, tried to alternate their businesses by being isolated centers where, someone who wanted to stay safe could come and stay safely. So they had to improvise, and the hospitality industry was very, very adapt, because if you look at the housekeeping department, it equips itself with sanitizers are available by liters inside a five-star hotel. Outside the sanitizers were in short supply, but inside the hotels it was abundantly available because it was always used. So the hotel industry was quite ready in terms of responding, because the mental aptitude of a hotelier is to, get up and respond to a situation without thinking too much. So the adaptability, more than any other industry, the hotel industry responded very well, and I'm glad that education and hospitality industry did work out this phase very constructively for the sake of our students. Yes, there were some challenges, because teaching things which are skill oriented becomes very, very difficult online. But between the first and the second wave, the institutes again responded, and we took up the challenges, and we did make sure that the students did not get shortchanged during this entire pandemic. So, though the pandemic was a very challenging aspect, the I think the industry as well as the academia responded quite fruitfully to make the best out of the situation.
Absolutely. I would agree with you here that when pandemic came, nobody was prepared for it. None of us even knew what that meant. But everybody of every age, every gender, or however you want to put it, everybody went through it. And then all of us also learned to cope up with it. All of us found a way to come out of it, and I think it was an experience for each one of us, and I think all of us took a learning from it, and I would say, as the human race, we have come out of it in a more equipped manner now. Right. So okay,
Absolutely,
moving.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would just like to add that, it was challenging not only for the teachers but also for the students, because they are not used to this kind of medium, and it has brought a sea change that now students are so used to that medium that they are very happy to be online, to learn from the teachers online. So it has brought a new blended methodology to the entire learning teaching process, which was not there earlier. So that was a gift of the pandemic to our teaching fraternity, that we could probably teach, and the most biggest beneficiaries were those who are in the remote areas where you don't have a nearby college to go to hospitality. They, for the first time, realized that we can learn through this mode, in a distance mode, by listening to teachers and by listening to workshops where we don't have to travel hundreds of kilometers to a college. So that was again an area where we are looking at. In fact, the government has started several initiatives that they can now reach out to the remotest of places and train skilled manpower by going online. So that was the biggest beneficiary of this entire program.
Very true. Here, I would also like to mention one point, that our teachers, our professors, and whosoever is in that profession, it was a huge challenge for all of them also. Because, technology, yes, we all use it sparingly. Maybe, just going on Facebook, YouTube, all of us know that. But to conduct entire sessions, entire semesters, and learning to how to sort of, do these sessions on Zoom or whichever platform was being used. So I would like to show my gratitude and show my respect to all of the teachers and professors who coped up with it and came out of it beautifully.
Absolutely. In fact, there were teachers who are, in the age group of 50 to 60 who have always been teaching for 20, 30 years on the blackboards and the whiteboards. And they suddenly realize that the cheese has moved and they have to now learn a new method of teaching. So, though it was a struggle for them initially, I've seen teachers who were close to retirement working like as if they've just joined the teaching field. So it created a new brand of enthusiasm amongst them. So I think it has benefited everyone.
So true. All right, so moving on to our next question. Why do you think there is a need for active participation in nurturing talented hospitality aspirants and professionals even before they enter the industry? How does it help?
Okay, let me tell you my personal experience. If I've been teaching training for the last 23 years. Whenever I interview a student, whenever I talk to the parent, first thing I ask them, why do you want to do hospitality education, hotel management? The standard phrase I get, I love cooking. Okay, so anyone who loves to cook or might have boiled an egg at home wants to do hotel management. Okay, the feeling is that if I'm good at cooking, only then I should join hotel management. But hotel management is not just cooking. It is about a skill which involves several areas. Now I'll just run through the gamut of experiences that are required and the kind of people we absorb in our industry. Okay, so you have a department like kitchen, which we all know, where one needs to love cooking, one needs to have creativity, one needs to innovate with food ingredients, and have to have an excellent taste for food ingredients and preparations, and a passion to be there in front of the flame to actually bring out the best for your guests. But there are other areas, like if you look at something like housekeeping. Okay, you need a fantastic eye for detail. One frame wrongly placed anywhere. Okay, one particular shoe in the room which is in the wrong place, to pick that up. There is a cobweb somewhere. There is a spider web somewhere lying there. Notice it, get it cleared. There's a tear in the carpet or any amenity is wrongly placed. That person requires a good eye for detail and to put everything in its place. It's just a special trait which some people naturally have. When they walk into the room, they realize, okay, there is something wrong. Now, these kind of people have a special area, career in this field called housekeeping. It's not about just mopping and cleaning, but it's about knowing how to keep everything in its place and a place for everything. So this is one of the departments. Then we have front office, which people think that it's just someone who has a suit and has a wonderful smile, and those are common traits required. But that person needs to have a fantastic knowledge of the hotel. He or she needs to have answer for every query. A person may just want tickets to a local concert somewhere, or might be a sports event, and you got to arrange for the guest. Okay, if the plumbing doesn't work in the room, or the neighbor is making a lot of noise in his room, the complaint comes straight to the front office. So the front office is a person who thinks on his feet. A person who can smile full day, take a lot of stress, handle a lot of situations, and still be smiling at the end of the day and saying, "Sir, may I help you?" So these are traits not found in everyone. Okay, so you have a person who loves doing this, loves being with people, loves pleasing people, so they can go into front office. Then we have F&B service. F&B service is a person who serves food and beverage, but he creates magic at the table. Okay, it's not about just the food and beverage. The way he describes the food, the way he realizes, okay, there's an occasion, someone is having a birthday, gets a cake arranged, gets some music to be played in the background, gets everyone to make the situation memorable. These are actually creating magic. The guest just comes to eat food, but they remember all these other things which a person does, and we require talent for these kind of things. It's not normal for us to do it time and again unless and until we love doing it. So some people would really love to do this kind of thing. So these are not technical aspects. Technically, I can teach you a lot of technique. I can teach you in the kitchen the syllabus that is there, in front office, housekeeping, F&B. I can teach you all these things. But To be naturally doing this thing beyond your technical knowledge is something that one needs to analyze over a period of time. And that's why this industry is very diverse. Someone who loves teaching and training can join a learning development department. Someone who's good at selling can join the marketing and sales department. So you have several areas. So to club and put hospitality into one bracket, it's not possible. It is a very diverse field, and it absorbs people with different traits, different qualities, different backgrounds, different abilities, and it brings all to make the guest experience beautiful. So if you're going to say, the hospitality industry is one that not only employs but it also touches. I don't think there is a single person who might be listening to this podcast who has some time or the other not been entertained in a restaurant, or not gone and touched the tourism sector where he's been served by a person in hospitality. So it's so diverse that we all get to experience it on a daily basis. So this is such a beautiful field to be in.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Rego, my next question would be the collaborations that you go ahead with. How do these really benefit the students and the hotel companies at the same time?
Just to mention that we call ourselves a hotel school by the hoteliers for the hoteliers. There was a reason why the school came up. Okay, uh, the entire academia and industry were working into isolated boxes. Okay, the industry was doing its own job. Of course, it was involving academia in terms of internship, in going for placements and getting them on, but they were not involved as much in making sure that they come and share what they know with the academia. So when we set up the school, the first thought was to get as many industry people on board before we even go ahead with putting a syllabus together. So when we already knew our syllabus and we know what syllabus constitutes in a hotel management college, so when we went to the hoteliers, they said, you are doing a lot of technical stuff, good enough, but are you getting the students ready to work from day one? And that's where we realized that yes, facing the guest or getting something ready to cook, or handling the front office on their own, they required a lot more inputs in terms of soft skills. So we looked at various areas. We took insight from the hoteliers, and their responses actually stand us, which helped us to develop subjects which are not there in the academia. So collaborations are important for this because they bring a very different perspective. We may teach a lot of technically ideal stuff that should happen in the hotel industry. But when academia is associated with industry, they give them a balanced picture of what you learn and how do you put that in place in the industry. Okay, when you actually go on the floor, how do you practice it? So that was a very distinctly different area that we looked at, and it brought in a lot of subjects like emotional intelligence, supply chain management, handling, improving your memory techniques. So we were told that students have to remember guest names, what are their choices, what they like and dislike about the guest, what the guests liked and disliked about the hotel, and they have to remember it sometimes for years. The next time you see that guest, not only in your hotel, probably you changed positions and you've gone into another hotel and you meet that guest there, you can always bring about that incident and create a memorable situation where the person remember, oh, he remembered me after so many years. And that's where you require memory techniques. How to remember guests by the names, by their behaviors, and how to impress them about the memorable experiences you have given them in the past. And this brought about a new subject called memory techniques in our curriculum. Now, this would have not happened if the industry wouldn't have given us feedback. So the institutes need to go back to the industry and keep asking, what do you want in our students? So one of our mission statement at Lexicon is to create day zero professionals. When we say day zero professional, we say when a person is hired, when a student is hired in a hotel, he should perform from day zero, from the first day he joins. He should be able to perform. The hotel should not spend time training. All that should happen within the academia in those 3 years that the student is there. So when the student goes out, it is performance altogether, and that will bring the industry to all the academia in a stronger. The other benefit is that students can actually identify with the faces. When they see the general manager of a hotel coming down and talking to them, next time they go into the hotel, they know, okay, I've seen this man before. Okay, I've seen this gentleman before. I've seen this lady before. So the relationship is very strong. The networking becomes very strong with the student and the leaders in the industry, and that will help all of us to make sure that they work as a whole, as a team, and people can identify. The industry themselves helps them, because when they see students, they can figure out, okay, I can put this student in marketing, he's very good at selling. Okay, if he can convince me, I think he can convince my guests. So this nurturing takes place much better, and that's why I say the academy and the industry should work very, very strongly, so that our students benefit, the industry benefits, and the institute benefits. It's a win-win for all. So that's why this collaboration should take place on a very large scale, so that you have more and more industry people who can share their experiences and help us to understand better. Uh, there's one more area that I need to spell on. We had a first tie-up with Marriott. So we have a classroom which is a Marriott classroom. They have put up the entire history in that classroom. Similarly, we have a tie-up with Sarovar, which is an Indian chain, about 65 hotels in India itself. So they have put up all their culture and their mission vision statement across the classroom. Now, what happens is Marriott, Sarovar, they have different brands. Okay, like Marriott has several brands. So if you go to a JW Marriott or you go to a W Hotel, okay, they are two different brands. So when I take a student to JW Marriott, you see the music playing in the lobby is very different from the music playing in a W Hotel. So for an outsider, it's all five-star, but it's not just five-star. It's a huge target, market segmentation that takes place. So every guest who comes into a W experiences, it's a funky hotel. So the music is funky, the colors are funky, and if you go into a JW Marriott, it's a very classy luxury hotel. You will find a different kind of a setup. So you may have a concierge desk at JW Marriott. So the similar desk will be called wheels at a W hotel. So how do you differentiate between brands? You just don't blindly apply to a hotel because it's a five-star property, and then you go and figure out, oh, I this is not what I wanted. So you choose your brand, you choose the area that you want to go into, and then that exposure comes only when there is collaboration. So when different managers of different hotels come and explain their brand, come and explain the culture of that brand, you know exactly what you're going into. It's like I want to migrate to another country. I would like to know which country I'll be most comfortable going. If I want to go to China, I'd learn Mandarin. Okay, if I want to go to Latin America, I'll learn Spanish. So these are also two languages we teach in our college. So many people told us that if you cover Mandarin and if you cover Spanish, you will cover almost three-fourths of the world, because besides Hindi, which is popular and known by everyone in our country, okay, these are the two major languages which are spoken besides English. So if you teach them these languages, everyone would know. So these are inputs which happen due to collaborations. A leader in the industry came up to us and said that there are a lot of people who come who are visually probably challenged, or who are physically challenged. Some cannot have auditory challenges, so they need to know sign languages. We have room numbers in Braille, so they should be able to read Braille. They should be able to communicate in sign languages and body languages, especially when you're in a restaurant and a person cannot speak. Okay, he would like to communicate in a sign language to let you know what he wants. So teach your students that. So we inculcated that too in our syllabus. So these are important things for, it would not happen if I sit in a university room and discuss with my fellow colleagues what needs to be done. Only the industry can tell you what they need, and the industry is so dynamic. It keeps on changing its needs every year. So that's why the collaborations with the industry is very, very crucial. Okay, the menus that you see in a hotel today will not be there next year. Okay, it will change. And if I keep it teaching the same stuff for the next 10, 15 years, I'll become absolute. So you need to change all this. So that's why I think all academia should make sure that they have industry inputs as a prime factor in planning the syllabus and churning out students for the industry.
I would absolutely agree with whatever you mentioned right now because when I was a student 10 years ago, so I have done my PGD in travel and tourism management. So as a student, I can feel that, we did miss out on a lot of points because it was not the place where I was studying was not really in sync with what was really happening in the industry. And they were just published books and you just go through them and you're done. But I can feel how the way, um, if there had been such collaborations when I was a student, it would have really helped me to understand the industry in a better way and to keep myself equipped with the various ways and options that I really wanted to go ahead with. So, thank you for sharing this point with us. And it really, I would say, it would really help our audience also understand that why collaborations and tie ups are very important between the industry and the academia. So, yes. So, Mr. Rego, moving on to the next question. We have discussed this point, but I want to take it a little further from here. Um, Collaborations and tie ups also play a huge role in achieving new milestones. So, would you agree on this in regard to the educational aspect as well? Because, as you mentioned, that yes, it helps in keeping up with what is going on, but could you maybe spare some time to tell us how it plays a role in achieving new milestones as well?
Absolutely. Uh, we recently went to a winery in Solapur called Fratelli, and we visited a distillery called Paul Jones in Goa. The students for the first time realized, what we were talking technically, how it is actually put into practice by people who make wines, who make spirits. These are very stuff I cannot, if even if I try, I cannot bring a distillery into my classroom. Of course, I can show a video, but going there and experiencing firsthand, actually smelling the fermentation process and the alcohol vapors over there, the students realize what a guest should experience. You don't go and with so much hard work they have created a whiskey. You just don't go and add water, soda, and mess it up unless the guest really wants it. Okay, you have to make the guests feel the pain that has gone in the making of that drink. Okay, and bring it out. Only if a student realizes this, he can. So these are collaborations which help us a lot. Like we are in talks with Smooth Chocolates. We recently went to the inauguration of the lounge in Pune, and for the first time students could experience the number of varieties that I cannot make these varieties in my bakery. These are professional chefs who have come from outside, who are actually showing them how you go about starting a business in chocolates. Okay, this exposure at a young age, at when they are into their education in the nascent process, will help them become entrepreneurs of the future. Okay, you may just have a student tomorrow starting his own chocolatier business. Oh, you never know, someone may set up a distillery somewhere. So you will open up minds of people when you expose them. So exposure is the prime focus in collaborations. So whenever we look at type, like we tied up with David of cigars, we could probably show them pictures or give them one sample. But when you see a cigar lounge, and how cigars are made and they are smoked, or how do you make sure the guest experiences it very well. It's a different experience altogether. The student learns so very well when they're exposed to this kind of experiences, and this can only and only happen through collaboration. And I'm very very happy that our institute is collaborating with so many organizations to make it very fruitful for the students. I think the students of today will benefit hugely if institutes tie up with organizations in the industry to make it very fruitful experience.
Thank you so much for making this episode so insightful. And I was absolutely, totally into this conversation. And I got to learn so much. And I can definitely think about the students who are there in your institute and getting to experience all of this at a very young age when they are actually building their career. So thank you for letting our audience know all of it.
The pleasure is all mine, Shruti. Thank you so much for this opportunity to talk to an audience. And whenever you wish, you can call us again. Okay, happy and glad to be of help to this industry. It's a beautiful industry to be in. Very joyful to serve others. That's why it's called the service industry. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
I will definitely take you up on this word and I will come back to you because, I might think of, starting a series on just this. And we would love to have your expertise on different topics when it comes to it. So I would love to get back in touch with you and maybe we can talk about a series altogether. Thank
Sure.
you, Mr. Ego, once again for taking out
Thank
time
you.
for this session and
Thank you
have a
very
wonderful
much.
weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Shruti Out Loud welcomes all stories. It can be a brand, it can be an organization, or it can be a person. The only thing common would be passion for life. Please subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Ghana Podcast, and every other platform where you can hear this. Please leave a review as that helps my podcast to grow. Thank you once again. See you for the next episode. Bye.